It all began during my time as a graduate student, where I had the pleasure of meeting a lovely young woman by the name of Aponi. Although I must emphasize that this is not her real name. To many of those around her, she presented herself as an innocent and kind-hearted Indian girl. However, there was another facet to her personality that she kept hidden from both her parents and her broader Indian social circle. In fact, Aponi possessed a rather promiscuous and sexually adventurous side, which she chose to keep under wraps for fear of the social repercussions that may have arisen had she chosen to reveal this aspect of her persona to those around her. Despite her reserved and demure exterior, Aponi was not afraid to engage in behaviors that some may consider to be taboo. And this dichotomy between her public persona and her private inclinations only served to heighten the sense of mystery and intrigue that surrounded her. During the initial stages of our romantic relationship, Aponi would often confide me about her parents' expectations for her to marry soon. She would mention how her parents had aspirations for her to tie the knot with someone who was well educated, such as a cardiologist or lawyer. For instance, according to her, such a match would result in her not having to work a single day in her life. While she shared these details with me, I never found myself feeling envious or jealous, as I was content with the state of our relationship. In hindsight, I can't help but find the situation quite amusing, considering that the men her parents had in mind for her were typically expecting their future bride to be quite virtuous and pure, qualities that were not necessarily indicative of Aponi's character. In fact, she was quite the opposite, possessing a rather lascivious nature and an inclination towards indulging in promiscuous behavior, which were traits that would certainly clash with the traditional expectations of Indian culture. Nonetheless, I must emphasize that I never judged her for her actions, as I respected her right to live her life as she saw fit. Ultimately, I found myself drawn to Aponi's captivating personality and her ability to be her true self despite societal pressures that might have otherwise forced her to conform to certain expectations. At the start of our romantic involvement, Aponi made it clear to me that she was only interested in a casual fling and that any sort of long-term commitment was off the table. However, as time progressed, my feelings towards her began to deepen and evolve beyond mere infatuation. Eventually, I found myself grappling with the realization that I had developed serious feelings for her, and I made the decision to confide in her about my emotions. To my great surprise, she shared my sentiments and expressed a desire to pursue a more committed relationship with me. Despite the fact that I did not possess the social status or financial means of a doctor, Aponi and I both believed that we had the potential for a meaningful and enduring partnership. I had a successful career trajectory ahead of me, and I was determined to work hard and build a life with her, one that would hopefully culminate in marriage someday. The journey towards a serious relationship was not without its challenges, but we persevered and overcame each obstacle together, relying on our shared love and commitment to one another. Looking back, I am grateful for the fling that evolved into something deeper and more meaningful, and I cherish the memories we have created together 3 years into our relationship. Aponi informed me that she was planning a trip to Florida with her friends, where they intended to engage in various leisurely activities such as partying and attending concerts. While I had reservations about her going on this trip, I did my best not to express any overt jealousy or suspicion. And instead, I encouraged her to have a good time and promised to keep in touch via text messages. However, as the days passed by, I began to grow increasingly anxious and concerned about the nature of her trip, particularly when she mentioned that she would be attending a concert featuring Tiesto, a well-known DJ and producer. As I was discussing the matter with some friends, we discovered that Tiesto was actually performing in Europe at that time. which led me to suspect that Aponi may have been lying to me about her true intentions and activities while on her trip. Upon her return, I confronted her with my doubts and the inconsistencies in her story, but she vehemently denied any wrongdoing and refused to admit to any sort of infidelity. Despite her protests, I could not shake the feeling that something was amiss and that she had indeed betrayed my trust. As a way to make amends and win back my affection, Aponi began to shower me with gifts and displays of affection, hoping to assuage my suspicions and doubts. While I appreciated her gestures, I found it difficult to fully trust her again. And our relationship ultimately suffered as a result of this breach of trust. After discovering the inconsistencies in Aponi's story, I was initially inclined to end the relationship and move on from the hurt and betrayal I felt. However, I decided to leverage the situation to my advantage, using the perceived infidelity to keep her on her best behavior and to satisfy my own desires. In fact, I even managed to convince her to participate in a love triangle, which temporarily assuaged my bitterness towards her. Despite this temporary satisfaction, I ultimately realized that I could never see myself marrying someone who had betrayed my trust in such a significant way. I couldn't afford the risk of getting divorced down the road and losing everything to someone who had hurt me so deeply. While Aponi was undeniably a good girlfriend, I felt that the damage to our relationship was too great to overcome. And her failure to acknowledge her actions only further solidified my decision to not pursue a future with her. I did not feel obligated to share my decision with her, as she had not taken responsibility for her actions, and I didn't see the point in having a difficult and potentially futile conversation. Instead, I moved on from the relationship, determined to find someone who valued honesty and fidelity above all else. After 5 years of being together, Aponi and I had reached a critical juncture in our relationship. At 31 years old, I was comfortable with where my life was headed. But Aponi was feeling the pressure of her biological clock ticking away. Her parents had all but given up on her finding a suitable husband, and her younger sister had already tied the knot and started a family. One day, we got into a heated argument that escalated quickly. In the heat of the moment, I lashed out at her and demanded that she finally confess to her infidelity, something that I had suspected for a long time, but had never been able to prove. To my surprise, she finally admitted to cheating on me, and I felt a tremendous weight lift off my heart. I felt as if I had finally won after all the turmoil and heartache that she had put me through. Despite the momentary relief that her confession provided, I knew deep down that our relationship had reached its breaking point. I could no longer continue to be with someone who had betrayed my trust in such a significant way. And I made the difficult decision to end things between us. It was a painful realization, as I had invested so much time and energy into our relationship. But ultimately, I knew that it was the right choice for both of us. Moving on from Aponi was not easy. But I knew that I needed to prioritize my own well-being and happiness above all else. In the aftermath of our breakup, I took time to reflect on the lessons I had learned from our relationship and to focus on personal growth and healing. While the pain of our breakup still lingered, I knew that I had made the right decision for myself and my future. Ever since I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, she's been desperately trying to get back together with me. It's clear to me that reality has finally hit her hard. She's come to realize that in traditional Indian marriages, a woman who's past the age of 25, 27 isn't considered a desirable option for many men. Unfortunately, for her, the effects of aging were already taking a toll on her physical appearance. On top of that, she was planning to lie to her future spouse about her past infidelities, which makes me feel even less sorry for her. Although I know that she's still capable of finding a decent guy, the idea of marrying a wealthy man who will treat her a virginal princess is no longer a possibility for her. She's lost the life she once had where she didn't have to lift a finger and everything was taken care of for her. It's a hard reality for her to face, but I can't bring myself to take her back after what she did to me. Stop. Before you continue, remember to like and subscribe if you like the video. Everything helps for the algorithm.